Hello and welcome to Comic Solving Problems. I'm Stephen Allen.
And I'm Eric McElroy. Hello and Happy New Year.
Welcome back to the streaming comedy show thing that we do. Yes,
Woo!
we're back for 2022 or whatever year it is. No one actually knows. The experts have looked into it and not even maths can tell us what year it is. There's probably the letter I in there somewhere. And so this is the half-hour weekly comedy streaming topical show where we look at the problems of the world and solve them. Some problems solve themselves. Just before we came on, we noticed that, the court case of the person who was the baby on Nirvana's Nevermind album
yes.
cover was suing for it, and they've won their legal battle. The judge dismisses the child porn lawsuit. Nirvana has won, which will be great news for Kurt Cobain. What? So good news all over, which I'm sure he is. But also, it was worrying. I can totally understand that that's the point of view of the judge, because if you could be recognised from that picture of you when you're a baby, you've got bigger problems than being recognised on that album cover. That's the kind of news that we will sort and solve as we plough on. Also, if you enjoy it in any way, there'll be a little link that comes up. Oh, I'm out of practice. I don't know which button's which. Let's see.
Uh-oh.
Nice.
Oh, there you go. That's if you're enjoying it. Yeah.
Little link to donate some money to keep this little bad boy afloat. You can share the link all over the place. And can't remember what the third one says. Twitter. There you go. So get stuck in. Meanwhile, we turn to the desk of Mr. Eric McElroy. What have you got for us?
Well, it is good to be back, and make sure if you are watching on the YouTube, the chat is the best place to interact if you want to get really stuck into things. Yeah, it does feel like we're kind of shaking off the dust, doesn't it? Like that shaking off the 2021, getting into the 2022, getting into the new year, and it does. It is the problem of a new year. That's actually the first problem I'm going to solve. It's all these kinds of things. We're all feeling rusty. We're all feeling musty. It's been Christmas. There's been presents. There's been drinking. And last year, when we ended 2020 and we went into 2021, we had high hopes, didn't we? Because 2020 was shit. Let's be honest. It was a rough year. This was probably the only thing to come out of 2020. We started the show then, I think. Or was it 1820? I know our dial-up wasn't as good then. So whatever it was. But basically, we were like back end of 2020. We're into 2021. That same kind of hope you get at the beginning of a new year. And I don't know if you remember, it was actually the 5th of January, a year ago, that we got this announcement that the Prime Minister put us back into lockdown. Remember those good times, Steve? Remember that? That was 5 days in. And we're like, shit, this is gonna be a rough year, isn't it? This is gonna be hard, 2021. And then I thought, well, it can't get much worse than that. And then, of course, the next day, the Capitol was stormed in the United States, in my home country. Like, that was 6 days in to 2021, and the year was already going to be one of the worst, that we could imagine, even worse than 2020. So I thought, how is 2022 going to start? Is it going to be all bad news? And I'm not going to be saying that it is, because already, start of the year, just a few days in, got this headline: some of the Trumps are getting subpoenaed. Liking it. I'm liking it. It's just a property company thing in New York, so it's not for everything that they did when they were in the White House, but still, Ivanka and Don Jr. are being called into a court in New York, and they're going to be subpoenaed. They said they're going to resist it, but that just means that they're just going to get in more trouble. That's good news. That's something to be excited about. I think we should all be happy about that. Now, we know how Trump's going to be about this, right? Because he's the law and order guy. I'm pretty sure at some of his upcoming rallies, we're going to have moments like this about his own daughter. You can see it happening, can't you? He's an honorable guy, believes in law and order. Maybe not. Maybe not. All right, fair enough. It's also a little bit of a weird start of the year for Melania Trump. She's gone in a different direction in her post First Lady days, she's announced just recently in the last few days. She's going to start selling stuff. That's a hat that she wore when she met the French president. She's selling other things that she had. She's getting into NFTs. Basically, Melania Trump has decided, as a former First Lady, to start her own eBay or Etsy. I think she started to sell things because they're going to need money for their legal defense fund. That's what I'm going with. There's no money left in the business. Um, Now, some other things that I think are now. This technically did happen at the end of 2021, but it's rolling over, so I'm going to say it is a good thing, and that's the good old Ms. Maxwell getting convicted for all the little shenanigans that she got up with Jeffrey Epstein, and she's going to be in jail for a long, long time because of all the horrific things that they did to all of those young women over the years. And it's good to see justice finally come for some of the people that participated in those horrific acts. So, of course, the big story is that it's all about Prince Andrew. That's who we should be thinking about at this time. You might be thinking, "Oh, justice for the girls. Should we focus on them and focus on how this happened?" No, no, no. Let's worry about the prince, because that's who this is really bad for. It just feels like that's a little bit of the wrong focus. But I mean, so the prince is basically, because he's being sued by one of the people that was abused by Jeffrey Epstein, or I don't know if we have to say she was allegedly abused because it was proved technically, but we get into all of that. But she's alleged that Prince Andrew abused her. The woman's name is Virginia Giuffre, which I love that surname. That is definitely Virginia Giuffre. That needs to be said with a Southern accent. I mean, she lives in Australia now, so it's probably like Virginia Giuffre or whatever the Australian equivalent would be.
Whatever that was.
That was a pretty good Australian accent, wasn't it? I've never been.
Your Southern American was great. Stick to that. Stick to that courtroom drama. Don't forget to do the old. Why I do declare.
Yes, that's also an Australian accent. I don't fucking. It doesn't matter.
Bit further south. Yeah.
The point is, she's accused Prince Andrew of abusing her when she was underage in the U.S. And, the court case is ongoing. But, what happened with Maxwell, doesn't really help his case. And he's been trying to get the court case thrown out. But even the judge is skeptical of some of the defense things that he's come up with. But to be honest, at this point, I think we're all pretty skeptical about Prince Andrew. I mean, after the Newsnight interview last year, and I'm going to share something. I think I may have mentioned this on the show before, but Prince Andrew is actually the one member of the royal family that I have personally met.
On that island, yeah.
No, it was in Morocco.
Which is an island.
Morocco's not an island.
That's kind of an island. It's got
it's
coast.
Part of the whole northern Africa.
Which is
You're
an
making
island.
fun of my accent.
Yeah.
You just called it a country that's anyway.
Yeah. Well, a continent is kind of an island.
It is. That's true. That's very true. And that's why Britain is a continent. That's why we had to leave the EU. All linked. All linked. Anyway, I met Prince Andrew. This was a few years ago, and it was at a reception for the British Council. I used to work in higher education, and in my experience, he was polite. He was condescending, but he is a royal.
Yeah.
He was stealthy. I can say that because we were at the buffet, so we were distracted by the food at the time, and all of a sudden he was just there behind us, going hello, and we turned around.
He was Australian.
And hello, mate.
Yeah.
And he's like, he gave us the chat. He asked where we were from. I said I worked at an American university in London, and he said, "Oh, God, I can understand why people would want to go to London, but not to study at an American university." And I said,
No way.
okay.
Did he actually say that?
Yes.
Burn.
And we said where we were in London, and he went, "Oh, yes, I know that. I fly over that in my helicopter all the time."
No.
And then he walked away, and his personal secretary followed up with a business card and a non-disclosure agreement. No, I'm kidding, of course. I mean, he didn't spend very much time talking to me because I was in my 30s at the time, so I was too old.
Think we'll get
Too
away
old
with
for
that?
him.
Yeah.
Too old for him. So
Not sure if we'll get away with that. Well, it's good. It's close.
he likes, yeah. But he was interested in the students. That's what I will say. His secretary did say he was very keen to meet the students.
This is your topic, mate. I'm leaning back on this one.
That is a fact. He did say that. And it wasn't the prince saying that. It was his personal secretary. It was a woman. What was her last name? Was it Max Mathers? No, it's gone now. So 2022 is looking good, is what I'm saying. I'm going to get sued for libel, and luckily your proceeds that you contribute to this show will help me fight that case.
Libel? I'd be more worried about beheading, because It's the royals you're going after.
Yeah, but if things go badly for him, he's going to lose his military titles. So he's going to be the one looking at that buffet next time around.
We actually covered that in a previous episode about how he never got given the admiral in the Navy title.
Oh,
but
yeah,
he's still a vice admiral, and as we pointed out, you don't want the word vice associated with you when you are facing a court case about diddling.
Yep.
Which I believe is the technical phrase.
That's the U.S. legal phrase. There we go. So I think, for comparison on year, 2021 start, 2022 start, I think we're doing better so far.
We're doing better so far at 4 days in because there's not been an insurrection in America and additional lockdowns. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Boris shut us down on the 5th last year, and the insurrection was on the 6th. So what I'm saying is the year's going to go downhill from here.
Beautiful. Enjoy it while you can. When you're in that good mood, this is the good time to be putting some money into the pot.
Yep.
And give us the... there you go.
Let's check in with anybody in the chat that's there. Some Happy New Year's to everyone. Happy New Year there. Mark says, your first show didn't start at 2020. It was 2100.
Beautifully delivered. Nice.
I didn't know which way to go with that. 2100. Oh, fuck. Eyeball says, you've gone into the future. So that's good. And Mark points out another good thing that's happened this year is Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has been taken off Twitter. She's the little blonde one that's in the House that likes to shoot things in her adverts and blows up cars and stuff.
But she's the Jewish space laser one.
She's the Jewish space laser one, yes. Yeah, which is true.
Well, I mean, she said that. She gets taken off social media. That's not what I'm trying to say is it's not going to disprove all of those crackpots who think they rule the world.
Yeah, that's true. And I seriously say we don't believe in the Jewish space laser because we still have that strike against us on YouTube. So we don't want to got to make it 4 more weeks until that's lifted. So Mark says regarding Ghislaine Maxwell, if only she'd gone to Leicester East Services to buy Scheckstals. That is a callback that most people...
I would have picked you up on and calling her Ghislaine, but actually... Yeah, seems like a good nickname.
Yeah. Eyeboil says she signed an NDA. He's immune, isn't he? Maybe. I don't know. That's quite what if that implies. But I mean, his defense is really good. He's like because they're talking about the Virginia's Ghislaine's agreement with Jeffrey Epstein. Part of it says that she can't sue any potential defendants. So the court cases, the judge is leaning apparently, because it's happening today, to say that potential defendants meant Jeffrey Epstein and not other people. But that's a rough defense when you're going into court saying, hey, look, she can't sue me because I'm one of the people who would be accused of being a pedophile.
Yeah, you can't sue me because you had a deal with my paedophile friend. Now who looks innocent? A bunch of friends who were often on the island with people like Donald Trump and the definitely not sex-obsessed Bill Clinton. What have I done wrong? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting choice. Interesting choice of legal defense. Well, here's the thing, though. She made that agreement with Epstein when he was alive, and I would have thought that not being alive changes your legal status somewhat. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm rather scared that after death... these contracts continue because I've got quite a while to pay off on that mobile phone contract.
I was going to say, what NDAs are you paying off?
Well, I can't tell you.
You can tell us.
With the NDAs. That's the beauty of it. Super injunction. Those bad boys. Remember when they were in the news all the time? And now they're not, which either means no one's using them or they're using them better.
I've heard of one. I'll tell you about it later. Charlotte says, good evening, everyone. First time watching the show for ages. Happy New Year.
Well, we've also been off for a good long while, so you timed it perfectly.
And Mark says, Charlotte, you've missed the opening song. And Charlotte says, oh, God, what? There was no song. That's cruel, Mark. It's a new year. We have a new hope. And are you singing in this episode, Steve?
Not in this episode, but now the idea of an opening song.
Musical numbers.
Yeah.
Like the Muppet Show.
Yes. I was listening to some music from the various Muppet endeavors, and I realized, well, this is when I'm in the car, so I'm not ready for it yet, but I'm doing quite a good either Statler or Waldorf impression. I'm not sure, but I'm still, because I like to keep my references up to date.
Oh, yeah. That's what we want. current for the kids.
Yeah. I'm getting quite good at one of those.
So there we go.
There was a comment on one of the ones coming through another one of the streams. Said something about having something retweeted by Jordan Peterson. I've lost it now because my console's not quite as fancy as it should be. I don't know what that was, but that'd be interesting because that's another impression I've been working on.
That was who said that? Is that gone?
Because it's not turning up in the main.
It was Tom Hewitt said that.
Oh,
Hewitt.
Did it? What was retweeted? Because I'm not aware of having anything retweeted by the old. Hey, no, sure. Which is also the Kermit impression. Jordan Peterson is Kermit. Fact.
No, Kermit is not Canadian. Okay, he's an American frog.
Let's
just make sure we keep that
the
right.
Non-believable bit of that. Nice. Hey, it's like, no, be a lobster.
I'm Kermit the Frog, eh?
I don't think so.
So there's the sketch that we should be doing. Jordan Peterson talks to Kermit the Frog about how he's being abused by Miss Piggy.
To be fair, he was abused by. I don't think that's a good example. He might have actually been on Jordan Peterson's side.
Yeah. When he gets out of that toxic relationship and watches a lot of lobster-based TED Talks. Nice. So are we up to date on that one?
Yep, there we go.
So the donation thing, if you'd like to chuck some money in the pot, there's a thing to do it. Keep spreading the word on YouTube and also Twitter. Don't know why I made that button. There we go. It's a button that we now have. So to the topic that I'd like to sort out for us, I'm going to look at the problem of COVID because we need to do a COVID update. We started this show back in 1782 or whatever it was.
Yep.
Comics in quarantine, solving problems because we were all locked down. And within a couple of years later, no one's doing anything and I'm broadcasting from a shed. So, as you say, such improvement has happened, but it was a worrying day because we got the message earlier on. I don't know if you subscribe to the same push notifications on the apps. I saw the one that said Boris Johnson to hold COVID press conference. And whenever you hear that, you just think, oh, shit the bed.
Yep.
It's like when the other half says, can we have a talk later? Oh, balls. Because now the whole day is spent worrying about it. What have I done wrong now? What will I no longer be allowed to do? Go out and see friends. That's true for both examples. So I'm sat there watching the YouTube stream because I'm at work doing the Time FM show, but I want to know what Boris Johnson has to say. So I'm tuned in on the YouTubes and we can cross to some of the stream. Not quite sure why they have that music. Is this porn? Are we going to get a free 10-minute trial of a porn channel? I do not want to see this porn. No. So anyway, I'm watching this thing and we find out what he has to say. And he starts off with this.
Our United Kingdom is in the midst of the fastest growth in COVID cases that we've ever known.
Good God. Good God, man. That is shocking. He's had a haircut. Oh, my sweet mercy, Lord. Boris Johnson, I mean, he looks relatively not like a scarecrow in that. It's bizarre. During the one time of the year when Wurzyl's back on the telly, Boris Johnson actually gets a bit of a trim there. But anyway, he was saying something about the battle with COVID is over. That's the news we're going to get. Give us the good news. Is the battle with COVID finally over?
So anyone who thinks our battle with COVID is over, I'm afraid, is profoundly wrong.
Well, never mind. I thought we were going to get some good news. I love that he's called it the battle with COVID. And just through force of habit, the angry right-wingers who love a pointless grammatical preposition-based argument will be saying things like, battle with COVID? You mean battle of COVID? Hey? That man's got a nice shed. But anyway, so we've been dealing with the stuff that he was saying. He was giving us the updates, and then he said,
This is a moment for the utmost caution. But our position today differs from previous waves in two crucial respects.
No Christmas parties, no pub quizzes. And they're the two main things that are changing this versus last year's pandemic, and also some bullshit about vaccines. So what's he actually doing about it? We're rolling out extra testing, 100,000 critical workers to test daily in a bid to ease the Omicron shortage because they've got problems with, it's like Pingdemic Part 2. There was a case up in Leicestershire where one of the health trusts said that it didn't have enough staff. 1 in 10 members of staff were off. They brought in this emergency measure, which means they can call staff from other nearby trusts because that'll solve it. And in no way lead to a headline the next day that says Nottinghamshire and Leicestershire trusts have a pingdemic issue and call in from elsewhere. What could possibly go wrong with that plan? So they're doing extra tests. The problem is, it's not necessarily easy to get your hands on the precious lateral flow tests. And it's not helped with people doing things like Right Said Fred did. Right Said Fred took 2 of these precious lateral flow tests, and they decided to laterally flow test their tap water because Right Said Fred are safety conscious. If we know one thing, is that they don't want to be drinking any COVID tainted. Well, that's probably not why they did it. But anyway, F1 was negative, F2 was positive. It took me a while to work out why they were called F1 and F2. I didn't know if they wanted one test to be renamed, the other one to be help. Probably not that. It's because they're Fairbrass is their surname, so it's no one gives a shit which one it is. But they've done a secret code to mean you don't know which member of Right Said Fred's tap water came up with a positive. But the tests were done merely 20 minutes apart, and look, help section F1, no positive test, slight faint line on F2. It's almost as if not sticking to the correct instructions for a medical test in some way would balls up the result. Amazing science. This is the problem that we live in. We live in a world where, for some reason, pop groups from the 90s think they're experts in science. Just because Brian Cox did it doesn't mean if you had a number 1, you can wade in on this science bullshit. And I don't want to get all nerdy about it, but just dropping some water into the test, it's not going to give you anything like a proper result. You don't just snot onto it either. You have to run up your nose. You have to use the buffer solution. The buffer solution changes your pH. Who knows what kind of crap comes out of your water? So anyway, we're wasting precious lateral flow tests. And it, for some reason, is making people get all angry, going, oh, it's ridiculous. We should be having the situation ease. It's like we're turning into China. And we both end up working with a lot of people who have that attitude. More on that later, probably. Let's see what they're doing in China, shall we? Just to see if we are turning into them. They've locked down a city of 1.2 million people because of 3 cases. 3 cases. We now have so many cases in the UK that 3 of them probably happened whilst Boris Johnson was saying the words, a lot of cases have happened. 3 in China, and they locked down that entire situation. Now, how have they managed to get so low in terms of cases in China? You know I've got a theory on this, and it's that whilst we have to swab our tonsils and up our nose, in China, they were doing some of their COVID tests using anal tests. Somehow, they've got it down to just 3 cases in a city of 1.2 million. Wonder why that would be. I'm not sure. Anyway, the angry types that we work with, who won't be liking this news, we should be free to do whatever we want. We should be like Sweden. They didn't lock down as much, and their cases are a lot lower. What's been happening in Sweden? The royals are going to die. So, 3 royals have tested positive for COVID-19. This is... actually, let's have a look at that again. This is according to Hello Magazine. No, let me fix that for you. So, it's not looking great for the Swedish situation, and we shouldn't be following them because the one thing we can't afford in this country is for anything to happen to the Queen. We made it through Christmas, a difficult time. I'm just not sure we'll cope if she gets ill. I've actually started a petition to get the Queen to full bubble boy herself. She needs to be protected away under plastic because we are not in a good place. We can't handle this right now. It's all getting too much. You open the headlines, you find out that, yeah, schools are open, but the pupils have to do testing if they can pry the lateral flow test out of Right Said Fred's cold, dead hand. They have to wear... And actually... Kids moaning about doing testing every day. When I were... Where's my flat cap? Shush. When I were a lad, we had to go to school. When we had a test, it were a bloody times table, not shoving up something up your nose. Piece of piss, that lad. Of course, actually, the times table test in the north is a lot easier. It's just that's the times table. So I made that myself, actually. That's not true. Good. Thank you. I made that using Microsoft Excel, but of course it's up north, so it is double XL because they're all Greg's pasties. That's technically what it's called. Anyway, what we're talking about. Good news, finally, to try and cheer us up about it. The Omicron variant may be what lifts us out of the pandemic, according to a health official from Denmark. This is what we need. Something that might make us feel slightly more positive about it via the medium of herd, whatever it's called. Mass infection, giving us herd immunity. Oh God, I can't cope anymore. It's time for me to relax and take my mind off it. And yeah, this actually is the porn update. 5 minutes of freeness. So that's all I've got for the COVID update. We are still barely anywhere. We're locked down, and you're up to date.
Nice. A couple things to add there is that if you are struggling to get the lateral flow tests in the UK, because I mean it's much better than the US where people are having to pay for them. They're like $10 for just 2 tests, not even a box of tests. But get yourself a couple of secondary school age children. Yoo-hoo! Making it rain. The school is sending home boxes and boxes of the tests. Yeah.
The way that you said the word secondary felt different to the rest of it. I thought like some secondary school, like getting some extra kids.
Get some teenage kids. Get some teenage kids, and then you are set.
And also way more likely to catch it.
Yeah, unless you're in the royal family. The other thing I was wondering with the Right Said Fred test, I mean, do you think that that's how would they do that with pregnancy tests as well?
Oh, I bet, yeah. They're probably doing it with all
Run
the
underwater.
tests. It's full on ridiculous.
No,
It's up there with the level of stupidity that I've been seeing on social media. I think I'm angry this week. There's that, and there's also, I saw someone making that point again that they've done for a while. Some angry, right-wingy type kind of free as all, saying that if you don't have symptoms, but you test positive, you don't have coronavirus.
What?
Oh, God. As if, like, the definition of a diagnosis, for them, because they've looked it up on DuckDuckGo, to be diagnosed with something, you need to show symptoms. How difficult is it to understand that if you have a virus, you have the virus?
Yeah.
Because if your definition of actually having a virus is showing symptoms, then get yourself out there in the 1980s and have some unprotected sex. Because lots of things you can catch sexually are asymptomatic for a long while. And if you think that means technically you're clean, you're part of the problem.
Yeah. I don't have gonorrhea because I didn't get the test.
I got no symptoms yet. Struth. So let's see what's happening in the section. Charlotte says someone needs to bubble wrap the Queen. Now the fact that might be in my search history is none of anyone's darn business. we could all have a look at what we need to look at. Where are we going here? I go in reverse order so some of these won't make sense. Microsoft Office for the North, Microsoft Gobby for the word stuff, Microsoft Abacus. Oi, we're technology is slightly better than that for the number stuff, and Microsoft Omen Pigeon for the chatty stuff. Honestly, I'm offended on behalf of my people. I don't think bubble wrap will stop a crossbow, says I Heart Boils. Not sure which Queen we're thinking of how they're going to expire. Evening comedy lovers, says Chris. Evening. And he looks like that kid in school with Adidas, the Gazelles, and a new surname. I have no idea. I was too poor to have any kind of Adidas or Adidas anything.
Did you have a Gazelle?
I didn't. I had Gola trainers before Gola had its bizarre phase, little brief phase of being trendy. That was not when I had those as a kid.
I don't know what that is.
Good time. So if you want to get stuck into the chat, you can be doing that on YouTube. You can also be dropping some cash to keep this whole project afloat, seeing as it's the only way we can earn money these days.
Yeah.
And Twitter.
There we go. Right. So we're going to wrap up the show with a couple of stories that we didn't really get time to cover. So I've got a few headlines that I just wanted to mention, and then I think you've got a few. So I don't know how many you were doing. I forgot to ask you.
Oh, I'm doing 4.
You're doing 4. Well, I'm doing 3. So I'll do my 3. And then you do your 4. This was something that just caught my eye. Apparently, I didn't know that Elon Musk was in the business of making satellites. Just if he wasn't already, looked like a villain enough. He's got the Starlink internet, but apparently it's attracting cats. I don't know if you could see that nuzzled in the old starlit internet. Look at that. There's some cats cuddled up in the satellite dishes because they're pointed up, of course, and they're probably warm. But I mean, I'll be honest. I would cuddle up in a satellite if it could give me better internet speeds. Yeah. I mean, we've had some problems as we've done this show a number of times. Something else that happened in the east coast of the U.S. is they had a huge snowstorm, and cars have been stuck for over 20 hours. But of course, looking at that from a UK perspective, that's just normal.
Average day on the M25.
Just normal. That's what happens anytime it snows, anytime it rains, anytime they put those
protests are going on about doing
protests.
themselves.
The cones, the fucking cones. So many late night drives back from gigs. But of course, here in the UK, people are up in arms about Tony Blair getting a knighthood. And apparently, when I clipped this, it was 600,000 people have signed a petition to stop him from getting that knighthood. And I don't know how you feel about this, Steve, but I think that number, that 600,000 number, I think that's roughly the amount of people that he were killed in Iraq. So
interesting reference. Yeah, nice.
So I haven't looked at the names to see how they correlate.
I don't know if that's an impressive number, because that story's been going on for a while now. Look how many people have signed this petition.
Yeah.
It's the internet, though, isn't it? I mean, so that's 0.6 million. It's probably around 3 million people who have liked and shared a picture of a cat sneezing after sniffing its own bum. So it's difficult to know what's worth anything on the internet. I don't think he should get a knighthood. Not specifically because of him, just because shouldn't we finish with this knighthood rubbish by now? Don't get me wrong, some traditions, it's nice every so often I get to show off that this nation lasted a little bit longer than yours has done so far. And you've already hit the insurrection phase, so good luck with that. But they're pointless. If the honour system isn't fundamentally corrupt, then it at the very least lends itself to corruption way too easily. And, sir, these knights, they're not as impressive as they should be. Knights of the Round Table, they were fancy people. When Bruce Forsyth got a knighthood, you're not going to send him into battle on horseback. And I will say this for Tony Blair, at least he is one of the knights that has in some way been involved in a war. So at least he's got that Lancelot vibe.
There we go.
Actually, maybe he should get it. Yeah.
I don't want them to do it with knighthoods because I wouldn't mind at some point.
Really? You reckon you stand a chance?
Oh.
Yeah.
It looks like there's going to be a vacancy in the royal family soon, so...
Yeah, I think after the jokes we've done in a couple of series of MASH Report, CBE is not coming my way, and I've made my peace with that.
But I think they're going to need a new Duke of York soon, so you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, I can give you some further other news as well.
Yes,
we
please.
can deal with this story, the man who defected from North Korea to South Korea and then back from South Korea to North Korea. Interesting. Because, look, firstly, seems odd that anyone's escaping from South Korea to North Korea. It's like in the film The Rock when they had to break into the prison.
Yeah.
But originally, he'd come out of North Korea, so just probably realised he'd left the hob on or something and wanted to go back. And I was reading the story, and he's a gymnast. And why are these nations... either good old in the old days, East Germany or the USSR and North Korea, they always train gymnasts so hard. Yeah. Why? You're just helping people to escape. It's like leaving trampolines near the walls. What are you doing? So anyway, he's escaped back in. That's nice and confusing. Not a great day for the South Korean Tourist Board, but there you go.
No.
In other news, there's the story of a woman who was told off for not wearing a mask, so she stripped down to her underwear to wear a face mask, which is an interesting choice. We've seen videos before where people take their pants off. She's done everything but the pants. Again, I'm not incredibly sure whether any of these strategies are good. If you take your pants off to wear that as a mask, you might not get COVID, but you're going to get something. Do you know what I mean? Impetigo, probably something like that. Whereas she took off, we'll have a look at that picture again, took off all of her clothes apart from just the underwear there in some sort of protest. It doesn't make me want to ask them to lift the mask mandate. It's like those... Remember the spell when people for the ethical treatment of animals used to get people like Pamela Anderson to strip off naked to say, I'd rather go naked than wear fur. I'd rather you go naked than wear fur as well. So I don't know who's saving what in that.
Yeah, I don't have an opinion on that story yet. I'm going to have to watch the video a few times.
Okay, well, it is available. We'll post a link on Comic Solving Problems on Twitter later on. Why not? Let's get some clickbait in there. There's a story, I talked about this a little on the radio earlier today, but a woman who's in love with the colour pink, so she's married the colour pink, and she's vowed to never wear another shade, anything other than pink. They're mental issues. No, because it's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, look at that picture. She's happy about it. She doesn't seem to have twigged of all the colours that you can fancy. If you're that obsessed with pink, there's a fucking person called Pink. Try and marry her. You could have actually done it. Unbelievable. So anyway, she's married the colour pink. It's not the first time. We've dealt with the bloke who married a sex doll on this show many times, the woman who's married the Eiffel Tower, And I believe a while ago we talked about, I think it was in America, there was a woman who, I don't know if she married, but she certainly found herself sexually attracted to a bridge. I don't know if you remember that one.
Oh, yeah.
Which I actually think makes sense. Because if you strike up a relationship with a bridge and it doesn't work out, you will find it easy to get over it.
That's not the last one, is it?
There's one more. And this one is health advice. 2022, it's the start of the year, new Steve and all that. How can you go about getting fitter and losing weight? Well, one woman on the internet has some news for you. She says that sexercise is the way to do it and insists semen banishes Christmas weight. This yoga lover says that eating semen will help you keep on track with your New Year's resolutions. It depends what your New Year's resolutions are. She's presuming a lot. I mean, my New Year's resolution is to learn to play an instrument. If anything, gargling cum's not going to help that trumpet. But good luck to her. She says that eating semen helps you lose weight. And if you want to know how you can eat semen, it's very simple. Upset a waiter. There you go. And we're up to date with any other news.
There you go. Well, that's good to know because I'm back on my diet. So every little helps.
Well, good. I mean, I've gone past the story. In fact, I've got shortcuts these days, so I can go back to it. The picture of her. I mean, it's if you can't swallow it without doing that, it's not for you. You know what I mean? But anyway, she's
bless the reporter that got sent around to take that picture.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're in a pandemic, and sometimes food is difficult to come by, which is an odd phrase for it. But yeah, that would be. Yeah. So, in some of the comments, Sir Steve Allen has a certain ring to it, as does Dame Eric.
You know what? I'd fucking have it.
Yeah, you'd take it.
I don't mind. Don't mind these days. It's fine. Any little bit of publicity helps. Speaking of publicity, we should probably mention 6th of February.
Yes.
We are going to be doing, based on popular demand, a live comics solving problem show. Not live like this live, but live. Yeah. Like out, the Mickey Flanagan. We're going to be live in person at the Bill Murray, the Angel the Bill Murray in North London on the 6th of Feb. Yeah. In the London. So we'll be posting things about it. It'll be on their website, and you can get tickets. And it's a double show with some other guys that have a on the show called Let's Kill Twitter. And so
after all that hard work to finally set up the kit in a shed, we're going to do it in proper venues these days. So
that's right. So
wear trousers.
Figure out how we have to print the headlines. I think in big poster boards.
Oh God, yeah, the tech. Shit, I need to think about that.
Yeah, we have to talk about that.
But I mean, just before we do more comments as well, I mean, the shed is coming on. I can do a shed update for you.
Please.
Look at the shed. Look at this. Look at this majesty of blue lights trying to hide the fact that it's most definitely a shed. Look at that. It's going on nice. Comparing and contrasting.
It's like sneezed. You caught me sneezing for the full screenshot. That's
We'll take that as a clip. Also, I did add in some tech that we'll never need, but side cam's back.
Nice.
So we can do the process. We can get back into doing that.
Just go back to you again.
Are you doing a big sneeze? That's what's happening right here.
I thought I was gonna try, and then
we've not.
As soon as the camera came off me, the sneeze went away.
We've not talked about this as well. That these days, I should take a picture of what I get to see in my auto cue. I get our picture, a solo me, a solo you, and a solo joint, even when the clips are going. So I can see what you're doing, even when we're not. Even when we cut away to me.
You've never told me that before.
No. It's relatively new technology. And of all the screens, the one down the bottom is a webcam that shows me outside the shed, but it's dark, so I can't see anything on it. So maybe I don't need that.
Well, it won't be dark forever.
Here's when we do the show. No, actually, yeah, sometimes it's still light when we do the show, isn't it?
Yeah, it will be in a few months. And we'll still be doing it. Right. Do we want to try and rip through a few more comments before we go?
Mark says, Eric looks lovely and homely. Steve looks like a GB News show. Well, I am in a shed. So...
And
it's all blue, although I can make it a mixture of red and blue if you want to go full. There we go.
You need to try and do it the way Darren Grimes has his setup.
What, with a
so
gold
weird.
sparkly?
Yeah, that is a weird
Like
setup.
you're in a back room in a slough disco.
I mean, I know I've got a lot of stuff going on behind me, but Jesus. Let's see. Mark Randall says, I'm off February 6th, 7th, road trip. Does that mean you're coming here? Or does that mean you're leaving the country? I'm not sure what that means for Mark. But Charlotte says she will definitely come and see you. Please no singing or banana eating.
I mean, that does sound like exactly the kind of thing we should do live.
That's the kind of thing that once you tell a comedian not to do it, we are required by comic law to do both of these things. I will be singing whilst eating a banana.
The old ventriloquist act that no one's ever done for a while.
Yeah.
I think you could probably do a new version of Je t'aime whilst eating a banana.
Yeah. Can't remember how it goes.
Oh, okay. It had a big impact on me as a young chap. I've got those LED strips in my man cave, says Chris Hood. Yes.
Yeah.
I've been down B&M bargains, getting some of this business going. Get some. Woo, look at that. Tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be Nigel Farage. I don't think he. I think his shed is as good as this. I don't think he's covered the power sockets with a little bit of cardboard.
Don't give away the magic.
He wishes. He wishes. What else we got going? I think we're up to date with most of these.
Yeah, there we go. So, do have a Google for the 6th of Feb, and it's an afternoon show. So if it is a road trip for you, Mark, to come see us, you can get a head start on going back to wherever. Yeah. That's basically it. Please make sure we will be back next Tuesday. We're going to be having a few days off for some other life events, but most Tuesdays we will be here until we're not.
Yep, it's going to keep getting bigger and better, this show.
Yeah.
You joined it at the right time.
This is it.
I don't know if we read this one out from Mark Randall. Somehow, I don't think that's what they meant by 5 a day. We're talking about the lady who likes the spunk.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, if you're self-medicating, 5 a day is pretty impressive.
No wonder you lose weight.
If it's a personal diet.
Lose weight other than on one arm. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I saw. Getting thirsty. Oh. Hey, I'm not eating a banana.
That's true. Small victories
for me.
Right, I think we're nicely up to date and we're all sorted. Yeah, do
Good.
followings and all that other stuff. And then next week, we are back next week, aren't we?
We are, yes. Next Tuesday, we will be back. And in the meantime, my podcast does have new updates or new shows coming out. So check out American Exchange on that. And do you have any are you doing any daily podcasts or whatever is at the moment?
Yeah, back doing the podcast version of the Time FM show.
Great.
And so there's a new one out at the moment where we had the first part of the show was annoying small talk that you have to do when you come back from New Year, which was, how was your Christmas?
Yeah.
And that was the phone in that voice. So how's your Christmas?
Nice.
It was all right. It turned out all right. Yeah, so find me on social media. You know the drill. There you go.
All there.
It's all there. And until next week, we'll see you then.
See you then. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for watching this from Comic Solving Problems.
And if you feel like it, go ahead and like the video.
Or subscribe. Commitment.